Is it really possible to build muscle while you're losing fat? It 100% is, but losing weight also makes it much more likely that you will lose muscle. So you need to know what to look for to make sure that doesn't happen to you. So in this video, I'm going to show you 7 signs that you are losing fat and not muscle, and why the old 1 to 2 pounds per week rule could end up leaving you demotivated and starving. If we've never met before, my name is Mateo. I've lost 50 pounds now twice in my life, and I make these videos based on the experiences I've had coaching folks, both in person and online, to help them transform their bodies over the last 8 years. First up, you need to know how to lose fat without peeing away your hard-earned muscle. And if there's an inevitable experience we have when we start coaching a person, in the first 3 to 4 weeks, they see their weight really trending downwards. Sometimes they lose 10, 15 pounds within the first month, and they go, oh my goodness, how do I know that I'm losing fat here and not muscle? Because man, I'm already starting to feel my clothes getting smaller on me. What's going on? And we have to remind them that muscle loss is not just a yes or no equation. It's really all about risk. So there are a few key factors to keep in mind here that make it more or less likely that you will lose muscle while you're losing weight. And the first one is all about the rate of loss. So you might think, okay, if I lose 1 to 2 pounds a week, I'm gonna be safe from muscle loss, right? And in a lot of cases, that is true, but there are definitely some exceptions and reasons why you wouldn't want to go with 1 to 2 pounds per week. For example, let's imagine you are like one lady I work with who is 115 pounds, right? Do we want her to lose 2 pounds per week? Sheesh, that's pretty aggressive for someone who's 115 pounds. That's a good chunk of her body weight happening every single week that's coming off. She may not even be able to eat that little of an amount of food because she's not burning that many calories. So in order to have her body use 2 pounds of fat per week, she's gonna need a 7,000 calorie per week deficit. So she's gonna need to be in a 1,000 calorie deficit every single day. Well, what if your body only burns 1,600 calories per day? You're gonna eat 500-600 calories a day? It's possible, but probably not the best option. What about my other gentleman who's 350 pounds? Do we really need to be losing 1 pound per week? Am I gonna be able to motivate him to lose the fat he needs to lose when he knows it's gonna take that long? Are we even able to monitor a 1 pound per week loss? When you're a bigger person, the water weight swings that you can experience are much larger on the scale just because you have more tissue. So those up and downs might be hard to even track, and even 2 pounds for that guy. Do we really need to cap it out at 2 pounds? His body has hundreds of pounds of fat that it might be more willing to give up. So in that case, we know that 1 to 2 pounds, probably not the best bet. So I like to think of it like this. Up here, we have really fast weight loss here at the top. So this is fast. And up here, we have slow, right? And depending on where you're at and how many of these risk factors you have, that'll help you decide whether you should go faster or slower. And for most folks, instead of thinking about this as 1 to 2 pounds per week, I like to think of it in percentages so that it scales with that bigger dude or that smaller lady, whether you're a really big person up in that 350 pound territory or you're a really small person down here in this 115 pound territory. So instead of 2 pounds at the top and 1 pound, or 1 at the bottom, what we like to do is we like to say, okay, this is probably something more like 1.25%, and this is probably something like 0.5% of your total body weight lost per week. So if you are 200 pounds, 1% of your body weight is 2 pounds. And if you are 100 pounds, okay, nobody's 100 pounds. If you're 200 pounds, 1% is 2 pounds per week. If you are 200 pounds, 0.5% is 1 pound per week. And then anything in between will land somewhere on this spectrum. So how do you actually decide where you should fit within here? Well, let's look at some of these risk factors I've written down here on my laptop. Number 1, are you eating a high protein diet? This should be a no-brainer. If you're not eating a high protein diet and you're trying to lose body fat while protecting your muscle, my God, you're stepping over nickels to pick up $100 bills. Go open up in another tab a Costco online grocery order and get some pork tenderloin delivered to your house, get an air fryer, get some Greek yogurt, let's make this thing happen, get some whey protein powder. So high protein protects muscle, ensures that more of every pound you lose is coming from fat and not muscle. On top of that, lifting weights. We know that the same stuff that builds muscle is the same stuff that keeps muscle around while you're losing weight. So this is a critical element to this. And if you're relatively new to the gym and you're not really that experienced, even 2 or 3 full body workouts per week at 30 to 45 minutes can be plenty, not only to protect the muscle you have, but also build some muscle along the way. Another one is sleep and stress management, sleep and stress. All right, if you are a very underslept person and you have a super stressful work environment, the odds that you're going to lose muscle during your fat loss push are much higher. Whereas if we were to just bring that sleep up from 5 hours a night to 7, the outcomes could be night and day difference as far as your body composition at the end of this. By the way, I go a little bit more in depth in this in Body Recomp 101, which is my complete guide to losing fat while building muscle at the same time. Linked in the description box. There's even an audiobook version, so you can just listen while you go for a walk if you want. We've got another one here that I think a lot of people don't really consider that makes a huge difference, which is leanness, body fat, right? Earlier I talked about the lady who's 115 pounds. Maybe she's already able to see some semblance of her abs. She can kind of see a little bit of an outline when she's rocking the bikini versus the guy who's 350, who's just got plenty of fat that hangs over his waistband. So based on kind of all these things you have, you need to decide whereabouts you land on this spectrum of 0.5% to 1.25% of your body weight per week. If you're a super lean person, that is gonna really drive you down to this slower end, and you're probably gonna wanna be closer to 0.5% lost per week. If you have tons and tons of fat to lose, you're probably gonna be up here. If you are lifting weights, you are sleeping well, you're not super lean, high protein diet, boom, let's put you right up here. Let's take advantage of all that excitement, all that motivation that you have, and just get after it, because fast fat loss, I mean, dude, there's really nothing more motivating than that, right? When the pounds are just flying off, you're feeling good, and everything is working, you don't want to stop. So why would we not capitalize on that? It's like being at a casino and knowing how to count cards, and let's just imagine it's legal, and not doing it, right? Like, why would we not do that thing? So that's where I would go there. And conversely, you don't want to be on the other end where you are a super lean person, and even though you're doing all these other things, eating a high protein diet, lifting and sleeping well, you don't want to be up here at this 1.25% thing, because this is the riskier end, right? This, less risk, slow losses, your body is just way less stressed out. Up here, way riskier. So we want to be down here on the slower end, the leaner you get. And this is why most folks, as they get leaner and leaner and leaner, we may have to shift down from losing 1.5, 2 pounds a week down to 1 pound a week and beyond as they get kind of into that ab lean level. So that's a critical understanding first, is that not all weight loss is the same. And based on how many risk factors you have, you probably need to adjust your loss rates. Now let's talk about some of the actual signs that things are working and you're not losing muscle, you're just losing fat. First one, this is a fun one. I'll throw a picture up here of a gentleman I'm working with named Lindsay. Pants way out to here, right? That is a huge one. If your waistband is just falling off you, you gotta wear belts to keep your pants up or drill new notches into your belt. Amazing, right? That's huge. We're dropping inches off the waist where a lot of us carry a lot of fat. Or Bryson, who donated his whole wardrobe to frickin' Goodwill or whatever because he's like, none of this stuff fits. I have to get new stuff. Good problem to have, right? And then on the opposite side of things, not only do clothing fits influence, fat loss, they can also show us about muscle gain too. Like, well, I'll use another example. How about Kyle? Kyle's a gentleman we've been working with recently who's just crushing it. He's putting on muscle, he's improving the quality of his training. We're giving him feedback on his intensity levels each week, his effort levels. We're coaching him on the nutrition side of things. And he sent a picture the other day with a trap gap. If you don't know what that is, it's basically when you're wearing a sleeveless shirt or a wife beater and there's a gap in between where the shirt touches your upper back and your chest. Like there's a spot where you could put a pencil through there. He's got a trap gap because there's more muscle on the pecs, on the upper back. That is creating that gap. So we can always see in the clothes, all right, cool. Are they fitting tighter around the arms, the chest, the glutes, and looser in all the places where we carry more of our fat? And in general, like, look, I'm not gonna say it's always gonna be that they're just all tight in the triceps and the shoulders and always loose around the waist. As you do lose a good chunk of fat, everything will generally shrink. You will lose fat off your arms, you will lose fat off of everywhere, and so you might find that you move to a medium instead of a large. But in general, you should be able to feel those differences in the clothing. Next sign, oh boy, this is a really good one. And I think one that a lot of folks share about, but don't do it in a super practical way. Here's my client, John. John has just been absolutely crushing it with his fat loss. And if you look at the beginning and the end of John's fat loss, you can clearly see, oh my goodness, okay, this guy has built some muscle, he's lost a ton of fat, this is very impressive. But that information isn't really useful to you, right? If you're somewhere in the middle of your journey or right at the beginning of it, you might be like, well, yeah, it must be nice to look at these before afters and say, oh, I'm John, I've definitely lost a bunch of fat. Cool, great story, Mateo. But what about the in between where we actually are just kind of in it and we're not fully certain what's going on? Well, that's where the interim progress photos happen. And during fat loss, I think every week or every 2 weeks, probably more realistically, is a good time frame to take progress photos. And we've noticed that with a lot of the folks we work with, they might look at their first 2-week check-in photo or 4-week check-in photo and be like, okay, I'm seeing some changes, but like, I don't know, it's really not that like night and day, oh my God, what the hell, I'm ripped. And we have to remind them, okay, progress photos are not about fireworks and looking for this like dream come true, holy crap, I'm shredded thing. They're just about spotting the direction that things are going. You're just looking for, are we heading north? Are we heading south? And one thing I've found that has happened both with myself and with Jay and the other coaches, Marco, we have a little bit more of a coach's eye as it comes to physique. We can see, okay, look, you're losing fat off here and here and here. And you'll notice all bodybuilding competitors have this too. They can tell when someone's substantially leaner than the other person, where maybe to the average Joe, they look at all the people up on stage at a bodybuilding competition, they're like, everyone looks ripped. I don't know, they're all the same to me. So here's a trick that can give you a little bit more of that coach's eye for your photos so you can determine whether you're heading north or south here. Use my usual progress photo guide. Again, it's in Body Recomp 101, or just prop your phone up, video style selfie in the bathroom, stand facing the camera to the side and then to the back, and screenshot, screenshot, screenshot those 3 positions. And then what you'll do, instead of just looking at it at a glance and judging yourself harshly, because we're all our own fucking worst critics, right? What you're gonna do is you're gonna zoom in, especially into the areas where you store most body fat. And I'll see if I can put John's photos up here too, where you might at a glance be like, okay, I mean, like, he looks kind of the same. Maybe this is a bit of a different day. He's a little bit less bloated, I guess. But when you zoom in, that's where you start seeing differences. Lower back, chest, belly. Okay, now that we're enhancing things here, we can really start to see there's a little bit less fat there. It looks a little bit less soft and just kind of brushed and filled, and more like, all right, wow, there's actually like a little bit of a line there. I can start to see the muscle pushing up against the skin. So every 2 weeks, you're gonna take some progress photos and zoom in and be critical about it. Like, look, are things moving in the right direction? And even if you see some small changes, you're seeing more definition, you're losing fat, don't fool yourself, it's fucking working. I know you've probably tried things in the past, you've hired trainers, you've done diets, you've followed along with apps or whatever, and you've been like, fuck, nothing works. Even if you see that small amount of progress, you might still be like, nothing works, this isn't going as fast as I want. Get this through your head, please. Shift your perspective around this. You are looking for direction. You're not looking for destination when you take these photos. You're looking for, am I taking steps, and not like, have I arrived in Disneyland? Okay, here's another one. Last week, Jay and I are training together at the gym. We're doing some workouts. I'm dripping in sweat. We're both doing deadlifts. And the guy who cleans the gym, who's normally just rocking headphones and doing his own thing, he comes over and he's like, look, man, I gotta give you guys a high five. Boom, crisp high five for both of us. He's like, I see you guys here all the time. You are the fittest couple at the gym. I'm like, damn, that's really nice to hear. I love that, right? I said, yeah, man, like same to you. You're the fittest guy who cleans the gym. He's the only guy who cleans the gym. But we had a laugh. And the point of the story is folks will give you compliments, whether it's Janet at the water cooler at work or your partner or whomever. People will comment that, hey, you're looking healthier, you're looking leaner. What have you been doing? Or like, damn, your legs are looking jacked. You know, your partner as you're getting undressed to go in the shower or whatever. Compliments, I think, are such a huge thing because this person has a little bit more of a third-party objective perspective of what's going on with you. And the other thing is, when you see yourself in the mirror every single day, all the changes are so gradual. Your face is getting slightly leaner. That jawline is coming out just a little bit more. Arms getting like 30 grams of fat pulled off them every couple of weeks or whatever. Slow little changes. So when you see someone you haven't seen in a while, they remember how you looked before and they're like, boom, wow. Definitely recognize your face is looking leaner, your neck is looking leaner. One gentleman we work with, David, I'm sure you're watching this video, David, what's up, dude? He told me that a guy at the gym was like, hey, I thought you were 15 years younger than you actually are. Little things like that, those little non-scale victories as compliments are just a really good indicator that what you're doing is working. Now, here's another one. When I did my last diet, I was using my close grip bench press as a little bit of a barometer, as a test. I wanted to see, okay, how much stronger can I get on my close grip bench as I lose a bunch of fat? Because generally I find that my pressing strength and general compound movement strength, it becomes a lot harder to maintain while you're losing fat because you have less energy to train hard. You're getting smaller, so leverages are changing, especially something like the bench press, where your body is literally getting further and further from the barbell. So you're having to use more and more range of motion because you don't have big titty meat to, stop early. I was like, all right, let's just see how this goes while I was cutting for this jiu-jitsu competition. My goal was to just fight back, rage against the dying of the light, this whole diet, and see what I could do. And sure enough, I ended up putting a couple of reps on and a couple of pounds on. I think I went from like 200 for 10 with a pause close grip bench press to like 205 or 210 for 11. I'd have to look it up. So I fought back and I got stronger and stronger and stronger at that over time. And close grip bench was something that I had already been doing for a number of months at that point. So it poses the question, both to myself and to you, dear viewer, how could we possibly be getting stronger in the gym while we're losing fat if you are not, at the very least, maintaining the amount of muscle you have? Because we know that muscle is a huge contributor to your overall strength potential. There is, okay, how my bones are shaped and my structure and how my muscles attach, that contributes to their leverage. There's my motor capacity, how coordinated I am at benching. That can also contribute, but it's probably not going to change too much after months and months and months of benching. And then muscle size. That's a big determinant of the horsepower I can put out with my close grip bench, right? So if that's increasing, especially on movements you've been doing for a while and across the board on all your chest movements, they're staying the same or getting slightly better. Come on, man, you're not losing muscle, you're losing body fat, especially if all these other things are happening. You're losing weight at a reasonable rate. Clothes are looking and feeling, different. People are complimenting you and you're getting stronger. Jeez, man, it's just starting to become a very compelling case that what we're doing is working. So you always want to chase performance in the weight room. And I'm not talking about random follow along bullshit, Pilates, YouTube, yoga, whatever videos. I'm talking about serious training for muscle growth. And if you're the type of person who's just doing random workouts and wondering why you're not really seeing much muscle definition, much growth, I'm telling you right now, it's because you're not following a program. It's because you don't have a coach who's auditing your technique and your effort levels, telling you, hey, this is what you need to change in order to start training for muscle growth, because it does not come naturally to anybody. And it is a very unique and rare thing. Literally the other day, Jay and I were doing leg extensions. We finished doing our set of leg extensions. She's pushing me like, hey, more. I finished the leg extension. I'm red, I'm sweating, veins popping, right? Pass failure, intense. I look up, everyone in the cardio theater, treadmills, ellipticals, all that, they're all looking at us like, holy shit, what's going on here? Like, not to toot my own horn or anything, but training with proper intensity and technique and pushing yourself hard, which is required for proper muscle growth, it's uncommon. Most people don't ever see that. Most people see me get to a hard point in my set where it's like, yeah, pretty much the hardest they've ever seen someone train. And then I do 4 more. And they're like, what the fuck, what is he training for, right? So if you want a little bit more feedback on what you're doing with your training and you actually want to build some serious muscle and see some definition this year, go check out the link for one-on-one coaching in the description box. We can help you. Let's talk about the next one. Oh boy. Okay, so I take Kiba to the vet a little while ago. She had to get her shots. This is my dog. We had to take her in, just get a little annual health checkup and get her shots. First thing the vet asks every single time we go there for the annual checkup, which is 5 times now or 4 times. First thing the vets always ask, is she having regular poops? Any changes to her appetite? She limping? Sleeping okay? Anything out of the ordinary, right? And I think that is a cursory way, just a frontline filter or defense for the vet to be like, is everything normal? Are we all good to go? Because if all that stuff is good, yeah, there might be like some weird blood condition or liver disease that she has or whatever, but like fundamentally, probably we're not looking at anything crazy, because if something seriously was wrong, she would have some kind of problem, right? She'd be peeing in the house when she shouldn't be and, not eating or whatever. So that I think is a good kind of concept that you can bring into your own fat loss and muscle growth experience. And instead of looking at, am I peeing and pooping normally, which hopefully you are, it's more HME, which is what I like to talk about with folks. HME, hunger, mood, and energy. So just check in with yourself. Am I thinking about food constantly? So hungry, I can barely keep my eyes open. I'm getting lightheaded and woozy. Am I unable to fall asleep and stay asleep because I'm so hungry? If those things are happening, okay, we might be pushing a little bit harder than we want to, and that might be a sign to push just a little bit closer to the 0.5% per week range instead of the 1.25%. Same deal with mood. Are you persnickety, bitchy, moody, angry, frustrated, annoyed all the time? I mean, part of that is just a cost of doing business when it comes to calorie deficits. Being a little bit more hungry, your body, it's elevated. Its stress hormones are elevated. It wants you to eat so you don't die, right? So a little bit of that is a cost of doing business, but if it's extreme, especially paired with the hunger thing, it might be time to pull back just a little bit. That could be a sign that your body's telling you, whoa, slow down there. Same thing with the energy. I get to a point sometimes in the fat loss diet, especially when I was pushing really hard, closer to that 1,000 calorie per day deficit at the end of a fat loss diet, where I'm just drained. I don't want to stand up off the couch. My legs feel like 100 pounds. I feel like I'm walking through waist deep snow. And it's just like, oh my God, my energy is crushed right now. I don't even want to do anything. Forget about working out. it just gets to the point where I'm like, I don't want to go do a social thing. I don't want to do I just want to zombie out and veg out. I don't have the gas, right? I honestly don't care all that much about hunger. It sucks, and I'm learning to get really good at managing it, but the energy thing is just wowza. I want to spend time with my girlfriend. I want to build my business. I want to play with my dog. I want to go say hi to my friends. I want to go try this new restaurant and, make these videos. I love doing stuff. And dieting takes a lot of that energy and just shrinks things down. So you really do have to prioritize what you're doing. But if we get to the point where that energy is just so drained and you're so zombified, again, another sign that we might be pushing just a little bit too hard. It could be other things, right? You could be just mismanaging the type of meals that you're eating. That could contribute to hunger. You could be putting way too many calories early in the day, even though you're the type of person who generally gets hungry in the afternoon. You could just swap around the meal timing, and that could solve some of the hunger stuff, food choices, whatever. But in general, I do think that if you're experiencing this inescapable, problem-solving, resistant hunger, mood, and energy dip, you might be pushing a little bit too hard. Conversely, the person I'm working with right now, he's like, dude, I actually feel amazing. He's losing like 1.5 pounds a week. He's like, I feel better than ever. I feel great. I'm sleeping. I have more energy since I started working out. And I'm like, oh, cool. Odds that your body is giving up really metabolically expensive and valuable tissue all the time, pretty low, right? You feel great. You're peeing, you're pooping, you're not missing any meals in the VEX terms. Okay, I've beaten that one to death. Now, last one, I love this. We recently started coaching a couple of family members, some from Jay's family, some from my family. And one of them that comes to mind is Lorelai. Lorelai has just been crushing it. She's done a bunch of spin stuff in the past. She's done a bunch of more cardio focused activity, and since having a couple kids, she kind of fell out of her routine with all that stuff, and family life kind of took over, right? Stress and time and all this stuff. And she had struggled previously with some overeating stuff, and she felt like tracking calories was really restrictive. She didn't want to kind of go down that route. So what we did was we set her up with a training plan that was getting her stronger, it's helping her build muscle, and a nutrition plan that's helping her lose fat without restricting herself and feeling overly hungry all the time. She's just crushing it with the coaching and accountability and support stuff. One thing that kind of happened that was super funny is she sent a photo the other day. She just put the caption, jacked as hell, and sent a photo to Jay. And she was doing leg extensions, and she's just like really seeing all this definition in her videos that she sends us for technique review. You can see her quads popping out. She's doing her curls. You can see like biceps popping out, and she's like, I can feel it too. It's firm. That, I think, is an obvious one that a lot of people overlook, is if I just literally grab some fat, I'm like, okay, tangibly, I can feel that there's fat there. I know how much there is. And during a fat loss push, I might get into week 4, week 6 and be like, oh my goodness, okay, yeah, like where is that going? I used to have like a bunch of fat here on my lower back. It used to get cold because there's not a lot of blood flow through the fat, right? But now my back feels kind of warm. Like there's a lot less of that just softness there. And when I flex my leg, like, dude, what is that? That's cool. I've never had that before. Let's not ignore the big, blatant, obvious. You can actually see and feel fat and muscle. There's a very big difference. Fat feels kind of grainy, kind of cottage cheesy. You can roll it between your fingers and feel that little like kind of popping of the cells as they pass back and forth through your fingers. Muscle tissue, you can flex it. It feels fibrous. It feels firm and kind of gritty. There's a big difference between the tangible, kinesthetic feeling of those tissues too. So if you're feeling firmer and you're feeling a lot less softness, my God, it's working. What you're doing is moving yourself in the right direction. So I think most importantly, take a look at all these things together. Am I losing weight at a reasonable rate? Am I eating a high protein diet, lifting weights, not super crazy lean where there's veins running across my abs, and I'm sleeping well, managing my stress? Okay, that's a really good sign that, first of all, you are at a very low risk of losing muscle. It's super unlikely that you're losing muscle while you're losing fat. You're probably doing the opposite, building muscle and losing fat at the same time. And then on top of that, if you have some more of these signs that are really kind of confirming all the stuff that you had suspicions about, you're feeling firmer in all the right places and less softness. Hunger, mood, and energy are feeling good. You're waking up with lots of energy and just a rip-roaring erection. You're setting PRs in the gym. You're getting stronger all the time. Oh my God, progress photos. You're starting to see incremental changes. Even if they're not wowza, crazy, eye-popping, you zoom in and you're like, damn, my lower back is way less flabby. That's amazing. Clothes are fitting and feeling differently. Tight around the arms. Look at that shirt split off my bicep and my tricep. I don't know if you can see that. You're moving in belt notches. Oh my God, that's amazing. All these things taken together give you a really clear picture that you are in fact moving in the right direction. And when you do see all that stuff, It's not only confirmation that what you're doing is working and you're not doing things that are moving you backwards, it's super fucking motivating and you don't want to stop. So be sure to be on the lookout for all these signs and take them together holistically. When you see one thing moving really not so great, be like, okay, cool, but how about all these other 6 things that are telling me I'm doing well? And if you found this video helpful, you should probably go check out one of my other videos that'll give you a complete system on how to build muscle while losing fat at the very same time, which you can watch here. It's a 40-minute deep dive that covers training, nutrition, and all the lifestyle stuff that you need to succeed. As always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so I can see you in the next one. Peace.